What if I told you that the world's most celebrated renewable energy source might become the next biggest environmental disaster? Yes, we are talking about solar energy and solar panels. While the governments of the entire world are racing to increase their solar capacity by installing solar panels for industries, in residential complexes, in societies, in deserts, but this might lead to something disastrous. It is expected that by 2030 we would have a tsunami of expired solar panels, and by 2050 there is a projection that 80 million metric ton is the amount of solar waste that we are going to have. And to put that into perspective, that is equivalent to 4,000 Burj Khalifa or Burj Al Arab building. Just imagine. So instead of solving for climate change, we might be heading towards a new environmental disaster. So in this video, let's break down things into simpler forms so that anyone can understand them. So we'll start with why and how solar is going to explode. Secondly, how China strategically controls the entire solar supply chain. Thirdly, why India might face one of the worst consequences of solar energy and solar panels. And lastly, we will understand how innovations in solar technology and solar waste recycling can actually solve all this disaster and make India a leader in solar energy. So let's start by analyzing that how actually we got here. Back in 2010, solar was expensive, unreliable, and really niche. But then something changed. The Chinese government made a masterstroke industrial move. They subsidized polysilicon factory, controlled solar panel supply chain, and flooded the entire international markets with cheap solar. With this, the cost of solar panel drastically reduced. The government was happy, industries were booming, and climate activists were also enjoying. This was the time when we weren't looking at the repercussions of solar panel and the waste that is going to be generated due to the solar panel. Between 2010 and 2020, in the span of this 10 years, in this decade, solar panel prices fall by 90%. Solar installation went up 30x. China captured over 80% of the solar panel market. But here's the irony. A solar panel has a life of around 20 to 25 years, which means that the solar panels installed during the first initial boom are now going to be at end of their lives, and we are standing at a position where we aren't yet prepared for what is coming next. That is a flood of so many used solar panels for which we don't have an established recycling infrastructure yet. On paper, recycling sounds like an easy plan, but it's a nightmare in reality. A solar panel contains multiple elements: glass, plastics, aluminium, copper, silicon, and toxic elements in trace amounts like cadmium, chromium, etc. Separating these elements from solar waste includes multiple high heat processes, chemical processes that makes it really difficult and unviable right now. So right now, less than 10% of the solar waste generated is being recycled. There's no technological constraint, but this is actually economically less viable right now. Let's get into the shocking math of solar panel recycling. One solar panel costs at around $20 to $30, and the same solar panel, when recycled, generates a value of just $2 to $4. That is just 5 to 10% of the value of solar panel. And what happens next is these solar panels get into informal markets or landfills or countries with weaker e-waste laws. This is the major channel with respect to solar waste recycling right now. Once these get into landfills or informal sector, all these toxic metals get into the environment and exactly where they aren't supposed to be at. For example, in the groundwater, in local water bodies, disturbing flora and fauna of these localities. This is exactly what we wanted to prevent when solar first came into place. That is the harmful effects of fossil fuels. So are we creating another environmental disaster while trying to solve one? India is one of the fastest growing solar panel market in the entire world. On one hand, in 2014, we had just a solar installed capacity of 3 gigawatts, which when we talk about 2024 is more than 82 gigawatts. And we have ambitious plans that by 2030, this will be scaled up to 280 gigawatts, more than 280 gigawatts of energy to solar panels. But just behind this awaits a big danger, that we don't have a large scale solar recycling infrastructure right now. A government projection says that by 2030 we would be having 200,000, that is 2 lakh tons of solar waste being generated annually. And if we talk about 2050, this number would be more than 1.8 million, more than 18 lakh tons of solar waste being produced in our country every single year. Innovators, industries, government, none of them has a disposal plan for all this solar waste that would be generated. So here we have to take a key strategic decision that if we continue with this pace and with the existing policies, we would be leading to another e-waste like disaster where we have millions of tons of electronic waste or solar waste being generated every single year, but no proper disposal plan. On another hand, if we build a circular economy framework and recycle all the solar waste that we are generating every year, we would be able to control the next multi-billion-dollar sustainability industry, and India would become an actual world leader in this circular economy model and renewable energy, especially solar energy sector. The important thing to keep in mind here is that solar energy is not the villain. Oh, not at all. But like every other technology, this also comes up with a consequence. We solved for the fossil fuel emissions but forgot the waste that would be generated with solar energy. We solved for ramping up the technology installation but forgot about the life cycle and end of life consequences of solar waste. If we get these things as well right, then solar energy is really a boon, and this will definitely solve for the environmental crisis as well as the energy crisis that we might face. But like all other technology, the complete supply chain, the complete end-to-end life cycle of the product needs to be thought upon. Once we build a circular economy model for solar waste as well, we aren't even solving for the emissions but also for the resource availability for building and installing more capacity of solar panels. Sustainability is not just about finding new and cleaner technology but also about where these technologies at the end up. So if you are installing a solar for your business or your residential rooftop, do consider these requirements as well. That always opt for a vendor who not only promises the best price but also has a take back and a warranty system for the long-term sustainability of these solar panels, because the future of sustainability would be with those who not only plan for a greener technology but also manage it responsibly. If you want to receive all these updates about the latest trends in sustainability and climate tech industry, do follow our YouTube channel and share this video with your friends who care about the environment. Thank you.